Greetings, fellow cultivators. Welcome to Audio Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. Watching his medical insurance balance drop to zero, Dai Xingji thought to himself, a Pyrrhic victory. Dai Xingji's mind immediately flashed, with the rule one side's medical insurance amount reaching zero results in a loss, but if both sides reach zero simultaneously, then the battle continues. But the next moment, after exhausting all his medical insurance funds, he felt an immense weakness in his body, and after staggering slightly, he half knelt on the ground. On the other hand, Bai Zhenjin wiped the corner of her mouth, then slowly stood up, and with lightning crackling around her, she walked step by step towards Dai Xingji. Dai Xingji's heart sank. After spending 1 million on treatment, she recovered better than me. Does this mean her injuries were lighter than mine? How is that possible? She clearly took my full force attack. A confident smile appeared on Bai Zhenjin's lips, and her eyes, flashing with electricity, looked at Dai Xingji. She thought to herself, these rich young masters from the immortal metropolis are indeed still not as willing to risk their lives as I am. The next moment, Bai Zhenjin activated her lightning flash step, and her whole body shot towards Dai Xingji like a bolt of lightning. Although Bai Zhenjin was still significantly injured and not fully healed, Dai Xingji's condition was weaker and more powerless. Within a few moves, Dai Xingji was knocked off the stage by Bai Zhenjin, completely losing the match. Watching this scene, Huang Ziku sighed, this Bai Zhenjin is truly daring and willing to fight. Although she probably has someone backing her now, she must have originally climbed out of the poorest of the poor. After all, these poor people only have the chance to catch up with the rich little by risking their lives again, and not dying after 10 or 20 attempts. This kind of fearlessness and ferocity born from poverty cannot be faked. Off the stage, Dai Xingji's mind repeatedly replayed every detail of the battle, and he finally thought with some reluctance, was it because I didn't bet everything in that instant? But risking one's life, betting everything, a desperate gamble. These were inherently contrary to the teachings Dai Xingji had received since childhood, and were behaviors he had always disdained. I actually lost because of this. Could it be that the family rules passed down through generations have flaws? Dai Xingji shook his head. No, it's that I wasn't careful enough, not cautious enough in this battle. I shouldn't have allowed myself to fall into a situation where I had to risk my life. Looking at Bai Zhenjin on the stage, Dai Xingji thought to himself, out-of-town woman, if I have the chance to fight you again, I will definitely defeat you. As soon as the battle ended, Bai Zhenjin immediately collapsed to the ground as soon as she reached the stage. Feeling the injuries within her body, she thought to herself, there's definitely no chance for the next match against Yanjing, right? But it doesn't matter, at least I've secured a top 2 spot this time, and I can participate in the final Foundation Establishment exam to compete for the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate. So, it's okay to just concede to Yanjing, right? I wonder how Yuzi is doing. Just as Bai Zhenjin won against Dai Xingji, on the other side, in the examination hall where Zhang Yu was, the simulated depth of the sea stabilizing pillar had reached -300 meters. The Xuanming heavy water in the sea stabilizing pillar had become incredibly heavy at this moment, making Yu Xing'an feel as if he was bound by iron chains, making every breath he took heavy and difficult. Especially some of the more fragile parts of his body were constantly compressed under this intense water pressure, making them particularly vulnerable to injury. For example, Yu Xing'an could feel his ears beginning to ache, as if needles were piercing his ears. In addition to this, his brow, throat, and chest were all constantly being squeezed by the Xuanming heavy water. Yu Xing'an knew that this was because the cavities in his body and the Xuanming heavy water outside his body had failed to reach pressure equilibrium. It's like diving. Yu Xing'an took a deep breath of the air inside the oxygen mask and then contracted his chest muscles, diaphragm, and throat muscles, pushing the inhaled air towards the cavities in his body, and after rounds of pressurization, he achieved a balance between the air pressure in the cavities and the pressure of the Xuanming heavy water outside his body. This process must be done very carefully. Once the gas pressure inside the body is too high, it can easily cause the air to injure the fragile parts of the body, and if the pressurization is not enough, it will lead to an imbalance between the inside and outside, eventually causing the eardrum to be ruptured by the Xuanming heavy water. Xiong endured the pressure of the Xuanming heavy water while contracting his muscles to adjust the pressure difference between the inside and outside, feeling the difficulty of this environment more and more. Not only must the physical strength be high enough, and the body must be tough enough, but it is also necessary to constantly control the physical strength to actively resist the Xuanming heavy water. Xiong glanced at the surrounding contestants. Men Tao and another contestant, like him, were silently resisting the Xuanming heavy water and adjusting their breathing. But only Zhang Yu and Yeling Xiao seemed different. Especially Yeling Xiao, under the stunned gaze of the crowd, actually tore off his oxygen mask with a look of disgust, casually opened his eyes, and stood calmly at the bottom of the sea-stabilizing pillar. Xiong was shocked. Has the effect of his intelligence-reducing capsule not worn off yet? Is he going to be directly eliminated? Zhang Yu was also overjoyed. Haha, did he really make a mistake due to reduced intelligence? But soon everyone knew they were wrong. Yeling Xiao stood, motionless like a statue. Although he didn't have an oxygen mask, he was not affected at all, as if the surroundings were not Xuanming heavy water, but air. Yeling Xiao tilted his head, and thought to himself, what should I do next? Just stand here. Just stand here, right? It should be like this. I guess the exam hasn't officially started yet. Yeling Xiao couldn't help but frown. What is this exam? What is this exam testing? It can't be just standing here. Looking at Yeling Xiao, who seemed fine, Xiong was shocked and couldn't help but analyze, did this guy use some kind of technique that can control internal breathing? No, he doesn't seem to be breathing at all, nor is he adjusting the pressure difference between the inside and outside. Is he using pure physical strength to resist the Xuanming heavy water? Does that mean this guy has even tempered the fragile parts of the human body, such as the eardrums, to the point where they can forcibly resist the Xuanming heavy water? Thinking of this, Xiong gasped and then couldn't help but feel fortunate that he wouldn't have to face such a terrifying opponent in next year's Foundation Establishment exam. Then he looked at Zhang Yu on the other side, who was twisting his body in the sea-stabilizing pillar, practicing body refinement. Xiong thought to himself, alas, I am the one with the lowest physical strength among the five. As Zhang Yu repeatedly tempered his body and nourished it with the longevity mana, he felt his physical strength increasing bit by bit. Especially the imitation phoenix hormone element he had taken in the first half of the exam was still taking effect. Streams of medicinal power, like flames, darted around in his body, stimulating the growth of human muscles and bones, and providing phoenix hormones for the repair of physical damage, repairing the body together with the longevity mana. What surprised Zhang Yu was that the Xuanming heavy water also strengthened his body refinement effect. The water pressure coming from all directions made him feel as if he was wearing layers of weighted clothing, causing his body to suffer more severe damage when he practiced the spring and autumn endless meditation. On the one hand, it strengthens the body's damage, and on the other hand, it enhances the body's repair. This back and forth makes the body refinement effect of the spring and autumn endless meditation even stronger. And if the combination of level 10 spring and autumn endless meditation, the key refining stages top body refinement medicine imitation phoenix hormone element, and Xuanming heavy water can be said to be a top body refinement condition, then what Zhang Yu is experiencing at this moment is top 3. This is because he, who possesses the high school sacred body, can increase the body refinement effect by 2 times when practicing any key refining stage technique, reaching 3 times the original effect. So at this moment, Zhang Yu felt his body erupting like a volcano during cultivation. Accompanied by the Xuanming heavy water surging back and forth, he achieved an unprecedented level of efficiency. Wonderful. This is simply the best cultivation environment, the strongest cultivation conditions, and the highest cultivation efficiency I have encountered since coming to Kongshu. Physical strength level 9.92. As every minute and every second passed, the simulated depth of the Xuanming heavy water became deeper and deeper. The pressure and damage that Zhang Yu's body felt during exercise became more and more severe, but the efficiency of exercise became higher and higher. When the depth reached -500 meters, Zhang Yu's physical strength also increased to a level of 9.93. At this moment, every time he exerted his strength, and every time he twisted his body, he felt his body become heavier, and the exercise effect increased again with the pressurization of the Xuanming heavy water. Especially as the cultivation became more and more difficult, the residual cow's self-sacrifice heart technique gradually came into play, constantly stimulating potential. Compared to Zhang Yu's frantic exercise, Ye Lingshao on the other side remained motionless, without a trace of breathing, just standing quietly with his arms folded at the bottom of the sea-stabilizing pillar. Obviously, the current depth was far from his limit. The simulated depth continued to decrease little by little, finally reaching a level of -1,300 meters. Zhang Yu felt that the surrounding Xuanming heavy water had turned into heavy steel plates, covering his body tightly, pressing on his muscles and bones, as if to completely flatten his body. Zhang Yu tried his best to operate the muscles of his body to resist the overwhelming pressure, but gradually found that his current physical strength could not be perfectly operated. Layer upon layer of Xuanming heavy water pressed down, causing every inch of Zhang Yu's skin to resist the pressure from all directions. Under this pressure, he had to both exert his muscle strength to resist the water pressure and protect his body structure, and use his muscles to drive the flow of air in his body's cavities, maintaining the pressure difference between inside and outside to avoid damage to fragile areas, such as the eardrums, sinuses, and eyeballs. Especially as the simulated depth of the Xuanming heavy water continued to increase and the surrounding pressure grew, Zhang Yu needed to constantly unleash even more formidable physical strength. But it was at this simulated depth of -1,300 meters that Zhang Yu's diaphragm, which was originally driving the gas in his chest cavity, suddenly weakened slightly, causing his breathing to slow by half a beat. Sensing this, Zhang Yu was slightly startled, as this was the first time he had encountered this situation since he had gained such a high degree of control over his physical body. And the simulated depth of the Xuanming heavy water was still decreasing. -1,305 meters. Zhang Yu's throat muscles deformed slightly, and he felt a burst of stinging pain between his eyebrows, due to the pressure difference between inside and outside, so he quickly exerted his muscles to accelerate the flow of gas in his body. But as Zhang Yu's attention focused on his neck, a burst of pain came from his knees, as the surrounding muscles had failed to protect the joints under the water pressure. Zhang Yu exerted force fiercely, immediately using his muscles to protect his knees. -1,312 meters. As the simulated depth continued to decrease, Zhang Yu felt more and more subtle pain coming from his body, and he knew that many fragile parts of his body were being damaged by the squeezing of the Xuanming heavy water. Zhang Yu had to exert force again and again to resist the Xuanming heavy water and protect his physical body. But as the depth continued to decrease, Zhang Yu felt that the pressure from the Xuanming heavy water was becoming more and more fierce, and the number of easily injured parts of his body also began to increase. At this moment, he felt as if he had become a submarine sinking into the deep sea, constantly being squeezed and deformed. Although he resisted this deformation with his physical strength again and again, as more and more positions could not withstand the pressure, he gradually began to feel a sense of panic. Deformed exertion, muscle weakness, flesh twitching, insufficient reaction. Zhang Yu felt a sense of loss of control like never before. He clearly had a body full of strength, but he found it difficult to exert it to the limit, and even more difficult to coordinate his whole body to perfectly resist the pressure from all directions from the Xuanming heavy water. And it wasn't that his skills in controlling his body were insufficient, but a lack of mental strength. A flash of understanding flashed in Zhang Yu's mind, and he remembered what the teacher had said in the Dao Heart class. Dao Heart is the key for cultivators to control all their own power, to use their thinking to drive their mana and body, and to use their spirit to deal with various distortions. When the power exceeds the level that Dao Heart can control, the consequences can range from cultivation deviation to loss of control of power. He glanced at the data displayed on the feather book. Dao Heart, level 7. Zhang Yu thought to himself, in the past few months, my physical strength has improved by leaps and bounds, but the progress of my Dao Heart has been too slow in comparison. Especially taking advantage of today's cultivation conditions, my physical strength has soared in one fell swoop, and my Dao Heart has become even more unable to keep up. It's just that the simulated depth was not low before, and I could resist the Xuanming heavy water by exerting a portion of my power. But as the depth continues to decrease, and I gradually need to exert my limit strength to resist the Xuanming heavy water, I can feel the lack of Dao Heart even more. -1,321 meters. When Zhang Yu was unable to perfectly protect all parts of his body with his physical strength, it meant that his body began to show obvious wear and tear, and the pain on his body began to become intense from subtle Just then, another examinee chose to give up, leaving only Zhang Yu, Meng Tao, and Ye Lingxiao still continuing. Zhang Yu thought to himself, try to hold on to second place, so that I can steadily enter the top 2 in the total score, guarantee entry into the next round, and have the opportunity to compete for the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate. Thinking of this, Zhang Yu suddenly detonated the toxins accumulated in his body by the spring and autumn endless Zen. As the Zen character on his chest quickly disappeared, Zhang Yu's body was greatly stimulated, constantly squeezing out the potential of his life, and began to unleash physical strength beyond his own limits to help him resist the pressure of the Xuanming heavy water. At the same time, on the other side, as the simulated depth continued to decrease, Ye Lingxiao's body underwent various magical changes as he began to circulate one body protection technique after another. His body shape shrank continuously as the depth decreased, and each shrinkage increased Ye Lingxiao's body density, giving him greater compressive strength, which was the level 10 expert level body protection technique, wishful exquisite bone. Soon after, strange patterns appeared in the undulations of his muscles, turning into pieces of dragon scales, resisting the Xuanming heavy water, with a better structure, which was the level 10 expert level technique, great heavenly dragon divine power. And when the depth reached -1,400 meters, Ye Lingxiao's skin began to change color, from the original normal flesh color to a cyan black color as his fascia expanded, giving his body greater toughness and elasticity to resist the Xuanming heavy water, which was the level 10 expert level body protection technique, elephant demon entangling tendon transformation. The combination of this elephant demon entangling tendon transformation and the great heavenly dragon divine power from just now made Ye Lingxiao look like he was covered in black dragon scales. After circulating 3 level 10 expert level body protection techniques in a row, Ye Lingxiao stood steadily in the sea stabilizing pillar, with his arms crossed, his face still full of indifference. As the owner of a perfect bloodline, he had a natural and unparalleled control over his body, and he could learn any technique with just one look and master it with just one study. In addition, with his level 10 Dao heart, he could freely master that level 10 physical strength and various key, refining, stage, techniques. And from the first year of high school to the current first semester of the third year, the number of techniques he had mastered had long exceeded the imagination of ordinary people, and his body had been tempered by one technique after another, and was even evaluated by the Oasis group as the most perfect body in Kongshu, first high school. The current simulated depth was far from his limit, allowing him to continue his thinking with a carefree expression. That Tao dissolution sustained release capsule does not simply reduce IQ, but divides my thinking into two, as if there is another person in my mind. If there is a way to control these two ways of thinking, at the same time. Ye Lingxiao thought to himself, HMPH, the company that developed the Dou dissolution sustained release capsule, may have created something good. As a descendant of the immortal capital Ye clan, Ye Lingxiao knew that many drugs sometimes yielded results that were completely different from the planned goals during the development process. This Dao dissolution sustained release capsule was obviously like this, and in Ye Lingxiao's view, its blessing effect on Dao heart was not as valuable as its side effects. I can try to get the family to participate in the investment of this Dao dissolution sustained release capsule when I go back. After reaching a conclusion in his mind, Ye Lingxiao raised his head and observed the performance of the other examinees. And Ye Lingxiao's key observation target was naturally Zhang Yu. Looking at Zhang Yu's current appearance of constantly adjusting his body, shape, and struggling to resist the Xuanming heavy water, Ye Lingxiao thought in disbelief, this guy has actually reached his limit? To be honest, Ye Lingxiao was a little shocked after seeing Zhang Yu's performance in the previous round. From that time on, he attached great importance to the other party, and had already regarded Zhang Yu as the biggest opponent in this competition for the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate. After all, Ye Lingxiao's own drug absorption, tolerance, and metabolism capabilities were already at the top level in the immortal capital high school world. The smell of the potion he exhaled on weekdays could cause mortals to die suddenly, and the only excretion he had each year could be sold at a high price, and was considered by the Oasis company to be of great research value. In Ye Lingxiao's view, Zhang Yu, who could surpass him in terms of taking medicine, was definitely a man of unfathomable strength. In addition, his performance in learning an 8-star difficulty technique in half an hour in the previous round of exams was also quite good. Ye Lingxiao had already recognized Xiong Yu's great strength. But Ye Lingxiao never expected that after showing such terrifying drug metabolism ability in the first half, the other party in the second half would perform so ordinary. Is he hiding his strength? Depth minus 1,422 meters. Not long after Ye Lingxiao circulated the triple body transformation, Meng Tao, who was next to him, could no longer support it, and chose to give up. At this moment, only Ye Lingxiao and Xiong Yu were left on the field. Through continuous observation, Ye Lingxiao gradually confirmed one thing. This number 55 is not hiding his strength, his physical body is indeed much weaker than mine. The Xuanming heavy waters test of the physical body was very comprehensive, and Ye Lingxiao not only confirmed through observation that Xiong Yu was not hiding his strength, but also gradually figured out the other party's details in this observation. He has neither mastered enough body protection techniques, nor even completely mastered his physical body. Is it because there is a gap between his Tao heart and his physical strength? But in this case, why did he have such a strong drug load and metabolism ability in the first half? What could be the reason why a person has a performance that does not match his own strength? For Ye Lingxiao, the answer to this question was obvious in Kongshu. Some kind of new immortal Dao technology. Has his body been modified in some way? Ye Lingxiao frowned slightly when he thought of this conclusion. From a personal point of view, he could be sure that the other party was far inferior to him in terms of overall physical qualities and was not qualified to compete with him for the foundation establishment certificate at all. But from the perspective of the company and the family, the technology that the other party may possess was very important. Ye Lingxiao thought to himself, I should get someone to investigate and see if there are similar technologies in other places. On the other side, Xiong Yu glanced at Ye Lingxiao, who was standing still and whose strength was still not exhausted. Feeling the bloody smell in his chest cavity, feeling the gradually weakening body after stimulation and explosion, he thought to himself, although I have stronger drug metabolism and absorption ability than him by virtue of the high school sacred body, from the perspective of overall strength, there is indeed still a gap between me and this top immortal capital young master. How much are those techniques alone worth? He's a damn rich man. It's not just the number of cultivation techniques that is far behind. My physical strength has not reached the level 10 limit, and my Dao heart is still insufficient. However, Xiong Yu was glad that he had managed to get second place. Counting the results of taking medicine in the first half, he was confident that he had enough to win the top 2 in the total score, so he also chose to give up. At this moment, only Ye Lingxiao was left in the entire examination room to continue. Looking at the other party, Xiong Yu thought to himself, next time I will definitely catch up with you, and then surpass you. Under the gaze of Xiong Yu, Yu Xing'an, Meng Tao and others, Ye Lingxiao always stood in the Xuanming heavy water as if nothing had happened, but as the depth continued to decrease, his body continued to undergo various changes. Ye Lingxiao understood that what he had to do next was very simple, which was to continue standing until his total score could surpass everyone and become the first place in today's foundation establishment exam. He squeezed his fist slightly and thought to himself, I will always stand in the first position until I reach the peak of the immortal Dao that I can reach. As the simulation depth decreased, Knight Lingxiao circulated one protective skill after another. Xiong Yu, who was watching from the side, felt his eyebrows twitch. He recognized the titanium body refining technique, which he had seen during the last foundation establishment exam. At this moment, Knight Lingxiao's depth had reached minus 2,581 meters, and his whole body appeared golden, emitting a metallic luster, like a statue standing in the depths of the sea. Obviously, this depth of minus 2,581 meters had not yet reached Knight Lingxiao's limit. Just as everyone was shocked by Knight Lingxiao's terrifying strength, and thought he would continue to stand, Huang Ziku said, all right, number 23. Your total score is already ranked first, so you don't need to continue. Only then did Knight Lingxiao nod, and choose to end the exam. At this point, the top 2 in the physical body track of the second round of the foundation establishment exam had been decided, namely Xiong Yu and Knight Lingxiao. The two of them will also participate in the final round of the Foundation Establishment exam in January next year, to compete for the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate. What a monster, Yu Xing'an thought to himself as he watched Knight Lingxiao walk out of the sea stabilizing pillar. This year's foundation establishment qualification certificate will definitely be taken by this guy. But if that's the case, it means I'll have to take the same foundation establishment exam with Xiong Yu next year. Although Xiong Yu's strength currently seems far inferior to Knight Ling Xiao's, his rate of improvement still makes Yu Xing'an feel extremely envious, even jealous. During the last round of the foundation establishment exam, he only surpassed me by a little bit. But in this second round of the foundation establishment exam, he has already comprehensively surpassed me. Thinking of this, Yu Xing'an's face also turned a little ugly. Why is Xiong Yu improving so fast? It's simply unbelievable. Especially since this kid is so poor. This matter can't be left like this. Yu Xing'an still knew something about Xiong Yu's poverty, especially when he worked overtime with him in the Red Tower every week. He could feel the poor man's smell on him, which was exactly the same as he used to be. If this kid were rich, I might not have any way to deal with it. But this kid is so poor anyway. Yu Xing'an had already made a decision in his heart that he would go back and talk to his senior sister Li Zulian. He thought to himself, I'll go back and ask my senior sister for money. Then add extra lessons. I must find Xiong Yu to add extra lessons severely, preferably cultivate with him every day, and I must figure out what immortal secrets he has. Also, next year, I must reach a tacit understanding with him and be assigned to different tracks in the foundation establishment exam, so that I have a chance to grab the foundation establishment qualification certificate. Speaking of which, Yu Xing'an thought to himself, if Xiong Yu and I both pass the foundation establishment qualification certificate next year, then we can go to the top 10 together. Remembering what true person Xinghe had said about the top 10, Yu Xing'an thought, once we get to the second level, our competitors will be those big shots above. If I can have a familiar friend like Xiong Yu by then, maybe we can take care of each other. Yu Xing'an still remembered that true person Xinghe had told him that when true person Xinghe had just been admitted to Wanfa University, one of the top 10, he had been taught a lesson by the upper-level big shots. Later, true person Xinghe refused to accept it and challenged the upper-level big shots again, and then he was taught a lesson again. He fought repeatedly like this, challenging those upper-level big shots for a full 10 years of university life, and finally, true person Xinghe gave in. Through this story, true person Xinghe wanted to tell Yu Xing'an that some people you can't catch up with when you're born, and you'll never catch up with them in this life. Also, it's important to have friends who can lend you money and share the pressure. Yu Xing'an deeply agreed with this. On the other side, Xiong Yu felt Yu Xing'an's gaze and thought to himself, why is this guy staring at me? Thinking of the last time after the physical competition, the other party asked him to practice with him. Xiong Yu thought, could this guy be thinking of asking me to add extra lessons and cultivate with him after he goes back? If that's the case, I can earn a fortune. But thinking of Yu Xing'an's current job, thinking of the other party selling seeds and then coming to him for sparring, Xiong Yu always felt strange. What's so strange? Xiong Yu suppressed the strangeness in his heart. Isn't the money from selling seeds money? And next, as the exam rankings were announced, the candidates began to leave under the arrangement of the true God. However, before leaving, Xiong Yu's heart stirred, and he remembered Chechen and the Jew family. So he took the initiative to say, Examiner, I have something I want to report. Under the curious gaze of the other candidates, Xiong Yu stayed behind alone. Huang Ziku looked at Xiong Yu with a smile, and asked kindly, what's the matter with you? Although the gap between Xiong Yu and Knight Ling Xiao's strength was not small, and he probably wouldn't be able to get the foundation establishment qualification certificate this year. But in Huang Zishu's opinion, Xiong Yu's value might be even greater than Knight Ling Xiao's, because he could find out about the Knight family behind Knight Ling Xiao, but he couldn't find out what big figure was behind Xiong Yu. And the more he couldn't find out, the more Huang Ziku felt that something was extraordinary. Now that Xiong Yu took the initiative to say something, Huang Ziku planned to take the opportunity to befriend him, which could be regarded as forming a good relationship. However, although Huang Ziku thought so, reality did not give him a chance. Before Xiong Yu could speak, Deng Bingding had already appeared beside the two of them, and said lightly, Ziku, go and write today's report first. I'll take care of this here. Looking at Deng Bingding's expressionless face, Huang Ziku thought to himself, no, you even want to snatch this. Could it be that the person behind this Xiong Yu has an even bigger background than I expected before? Huang Ziku left helplessly and could only curse secretly in his heart, all the money has been fed to the dogs. Deng Bingding looked at Xiong Yu, and said lightly, "What's the matter with you?" Zhang Yu told him about being followed by the Zhu family in Songyang City, and finally concluded, "I'm worried that they want to investigate my participation in the Foundation establishment exam, so I want to report it to you, examiner." Listening to Zhang Yu's words, Dang Bingding had a half-smiling expression on his face. A family in Songyang City dares to investigate the Foundation establishment exam. Dang Bingding didn't quite believe it. On the contrary, it was quite possible that Zhang Yu wanted to use her fire to burn this Zhu family. However, Deng Bingding naturally did not expose him, but thought in his mind whether Zhang Yu wanted to do this himself, or whether the person behind him wanted to do this. Deng Bingding was not sure, so she went along with the situation and said, "I know about this matter. I will have someone investigate the Zhu family to see if they have investigated the Foundation establishment exam. Add me as a friend, and you can tell me anything at any time, if there are any other situations." Zhang Yu said somewhat flattered, "Add you as a friend." Deng Bingding said lightly, "It is the responsibility of us examiners to protect the information security of every Foundation establishment exam student. It is all our duty." Zhang Yu added Deng Bingding as a friend somewhat unexpectedly, and thought to himself, "So the true God can be added as a friend. Why didn't I see this function on the talisman? Is it because my faith level is too low?" Watching Zhang Yu's leaving figure, Deng Bingding's thoughts turned slightly, and she thought, "Has the result on the other side come out yet?" On the other side, in the martial arts exam room, Bai Zhenzhen finally stepped onto the ring and chose to fight Yanjing. "At least I have to see where the gap between me and him is." Of course, another reason besides that was to get some medical insurance. With this thought in mind, Bai Zhenzhen stepped onto the ring, and a medical insurance amount of 1 million reappeared on her head. However, the moment the medical insurance amount appeared, the numbers on it began to decrease rapidly, and stopped only after decreasing by more than 200,000. And as the treatment ended, Bai Zhenzhen also felt a burst of comfort all over her body, and the injuries remaining from the previous arena match had all healed. On the other side of the ring, Yanjing asked lightly, "Healed? Wait, let me warm up first." Bai Zhenzhen twisted her body, and the next moment, her figure suddenly flashed, and she had already rushed towards Yanjing with a series of electric lights. She saw countless invisible sword ki emerge from her fingertips, and the sword momentum spread out all over the sky, already strangling towards Yanjing. At this moment, Bai Zhenzhen was using the myriad swords without end technique, which she had already cultivated to level 8. The sword moves of this sword technique are almost endless. After Bai Zhenzhen used them at high speed, under the blessing of thunderous mana, they were like a vast thundercloud storm, sweeping towards Yanjing. Of course, Bai Zhenzhen didn't think that she could defeat Yanjing with this move. She just wanted to use her high speed, and the many moves of the myriad swords without end technique, to attack Yanjing from as many different angles as possible, test out more of his reactions, and get more information, so that she could compete with him in the next Foundation establishment exam. And in Yanjing's eyes, which had already been refined into a Dharma body, not only could he see every move of Bai Zhenzhen clearly, he could even see the numbers that appeared in each move. 3,200. 500. 4,899. That represented the amount of medical insurance that would be consumed after each move hit him. Through these numbers, Yanjing seemed to be able to find the flaws in Bai Zhenzhen's moves and distinguish between the real and the fake changes. But Yanjing didn't do that. He just raised his palm and blasted it towards Bai Zhenzhen's direction. Along with the violent eruption of the double dantian in his body, streams of flame Genki spewed out from his body like a volcanic eruption, standing on the ring like a red city wall, dividing the ring in two, and then pressing towards Bai Zhenzhen. Boom. Looking at the overwhelming Genki pressing down, feeling the amazing heat wave coming towards her, Bai Zhenzhen's sword moves changed, and rays of sword ki with thunderlight slashed on Yanjing's Genki. In the midst of the exploding sounds of bangs, the sword ki shattered, and the Genki surged and was quickly filled again. Bai Zhenzhen was forced to retreat again, and was finally squeezed off the ring alive by this city wall like Genki. To actually force me off the ring with Genki, it's simply an unreasonable way to fight. There's not a single bit of skill, it's all the foundation that money has smashed out. Looking at Yanjing on the stage, recalling the opponent's fighting method just now, Bai Zhenzhen only felt her head hurt. Listening to Audio Nova. Not long after the end of the second round of Foundation establishment exams, The fifth floor of Immortal Metropolis. Yeling Xiao stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling glass window of the building, looking at the Central Cloud Sea Park in front of him, and said to the other end of the phone, yes, that dissolution sustained release capsule is very interesting. I can't reveal the specific situation, but if there is a chance, I think I can try to get the laboratory to analyze it. I am willing to participate in related research. After discussing with the family elder on the other end of the phone for more than 10 minutes, Ye Lingshao suddenly brought up another matter. Uncle, there is one more thing I want to trouble you to investigate. In other cities on the first floor of Kongshu, are there any companies that have developed technologies related to drug metabolism characteristics? Ye Lingshao recalled Zhang Yu's performance in the Foundation Establishment exam, and carefully said without revealing any information about the Foundation Establishment exam. In short, it can greatly improve the user's drug metabolism ability. Thank you for your trouble. On the train, Yu Xingyan was sending a message to Li Zulian's senior sister. Li Zulian purpose, time, how much money? Yu Xingyan looked at the expense application form sent by the other party, and felt that his fists were hardened again. He thought to himself, I will teach you a lesson when I return to Hongta. He typed on his phone and replied, I want to ask Zhang Yu to give me more tutoring. I think I can learn a lot from him. Li Zulian, Zhang Yu. Isn't his performance declining badly? If you get too close to him, won't he harm you? Yu Xingyan frowned, feeling a little embarrassed for a moment. He couldn't mention the content of the Foundation Establishment exam. How could he convince Li Zulian? He couldn't possibly say that he and Zhang Yu were friends who sold seeds together, knew each other well, and Yuzi wouldn't harm him. But just as Yu Xingyan was hesitating, Li Zulian suddenly replied understandingly, okay, if you want to find him for tutoring, then go ahead. Yu Xingyan's eyes moved, and he thought to himself, could it be that senior sister guessed it? That's right, this is the time for me to take the Foundation Establishment exam. If I suddenly make this request, she must have guessed that it is related to the Foundation Establishment exam. Yu Xingyan knew that this kind of process of accidentally having someone guess the exam information was impossible for even a true god to investigate. That's why a deterrent is needed before and after signing the contract. It can be said that what really keeps the candidates safe is not the contract, but the true god's martial power and the heavenly court's determination. Senior sister is really smart. Yu Xingyan quickly replied, Zhang Yu has increased the price to 50,000 per hour. Li Zulian, so expensive? Wasn't it only 15,000 before? Yu Xingyan, can that be the same as now? After a long time, Li Zulian replied, let him as me, I will talk to him personally. Yu Xingyan cursed inwardly when he heard this. Did I quote too high? After thinking about it, he quickly replied, after much persuasion, he is willing to reduce it to 30,000 an hour for my sake. Seeing that Li Zulian finally gave up and started discussing class hours with him, Yu Xingyan breathed a slight sigh of relief. At the same time, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen, on the other side, were already sitting on the train back. Bai Zhenzhen opened her mouth and sighed, the gap between me and the top immortal metropolis young masters is still quite large. Recalling the strength Yan Jing displayed in the arena, Bai Zhenzhen subconsciously clenched her fists. At first, she felt that the other party was just using brute force brainlessly, with a kind of beauty of using money to smash people to death. Later, after carefully analyzing it, Bai Zhenzhen realized that it might not be that simple. He is targeting me. After discovering that I am good at high-speed close combat, he used a wide range of power-based moves to push me off the ring alive. This is using the ring environment, using space and power to completely suppress my high-speed tactics, so that I can't exert any advantage at all, and instead can only compete with him in strength. This guy is not only powerful and rich, he also knows how to fight against the opponent's weaknesses. Thinking of this, Bai Zhenzhen's expression became more and more serious. If I want to defeat that guy in 3 months, not only must my physical data continue to improve, but I also have to learn a few more powerful techniques for deduction. Bai Zhenzhen sighed after calculating, I feel that I will have to spend several million more in the future. Zhang Yu on the side nodded in agreement. Comparing the gap between himself and Yeling Xiao, he thought to himself, in the remaining 3 months, I must push my Dao heart, mana, and physical strength to the limit of ki refining. I also need to continue learning techniques. It's best to put together another set of chain diagrams, and it has to be more powerful than the high school sacred body. Xiong Yu knew that Yushu's chain diagram could only drag in 10 techniques, and a set of 6 techniques was needed to take effect, and 10 techniques were needed to achieve the ultimate effect. This meant that within the same time period, the chain diagram could only take effect for one set. So if it wasn't a set stronger than the high school sacred body, it would be meaningless to Xiong Yu. Among the sets I can currently see, the Heavenly Martial Battle Heart, the Great Sage Inheritor, the Martial Tao Holy Embryo, and the Dragon Bloodline feel like they might be stronger than the high school sacred body. However, I haven't been able to find all 10 techniques for the Heavenly Martial Battle Heart and the Great Sage Inheritor. So what I can complete is either the Martial Tao Holy Embryo or the Dragon Bloodline. And when he thought of the techniques required for these 2 sets, Xiong Yu couldn't help but sigh secretly. He didn't have to worry about not being able to learn them. With the blessing of the high school sacred bodies 3 times the cultivation effect, he could break the next 3 months into 9 months to cultivate. Xiong Yu's worry was the same as Bai Zhenzhen's, it was money. In the next 3 months, it will cost at least several million to have a chance to defeat Yeling Xiao, or even tens of millions to be more secure. Millions or tens of millions of cultivation expenses are nothing to the real rich, such as Yeling Xiao and Yanjing, and may even be considered frugal. But for poor people like Xiong Yu and Bai Zhenzhen, that was already a huge number they wouldn't have dared to imagine in the past. It seemed that Fuji, who had woken up, heard Bai Zhenzhen and Xiong Yu's sighs, and said in their hearts ordinary part-time jobs cannot meet your cultivation expenses. The money that can be borrowed and the loans that can be taken out are almost the same. Now the last way left for you is to continue to work hard in the dark, tittering world. It just so happens that your strength has improved rapidly during these days, and you have me to guide you from the side, so even if you get involved in gang fights, it won't be too dangerous. To prevent the walls of the train from having errors, Bai Zhenzhen typed on her phone and replied, "But I'm afraid that after we go back, the Zhu family will continue to send people to follow us. If we continue to be monitored, then we won't be able to do anything in the tutoring world." Bai Zhenjin remembered Zhao, the one who repelled her when she went to find Zhi Chechen last time. According to the other party, this Zhao was a college graduate from the 72nd Lower School, a proper peak key refining. And according to Bai Zhenjin's several secret probes, when delivering food, the people who followed and monitored her later were also very strong, probably at the same level as that Zhao. Bai Zhenjin, these people are not weak, and they have various tracking methods. It's not easy to get rid of them, and it will only make them more alert. Xiong Yu also typed back, so it's not just about getting rid of them, but about finding a way to completely solve them, at least to make the Zhu family temporarily give up their 24-hour surveillance of us. Bai Zhenjin, do you have a way? Xiong Yu looked at his newly added friend, Deng Bingding, the 6th-ranked wandering god of the Four Directions. Xiong Yu realized that the key to breaking the situation this time might lie with this true god. The Zhu family would never know that he had met such a true god, so how to make good use of this information gap was very important. However, he didn't know much about the ways of the true gods. Fortunately, there was Fuji, a senior evil god, in front of him. Immediately, Xiong Yu told them about adding a true god friend, and planned to discuss with Fuji and Bai Zhenjin how to deal with the Zhu family's tracking. After hearing this, Fuji laughed and said, "Oh, a 6th-ranked wandering god of the Four Directions? That is indeed worth planning carefully. If you can make good use of the power of this true god, it will be enough for the Zhu family to suffer a big loss and have no time to deal with you too." Bai Zhenjin, true gods are not easy to use, right? Are we going to use the exam this time? But judging from the Zhu family's reaction last time, they know the depth of the water inside and won't be easily fooled. Although Bai Zhenjin didn't mention the foundation establishment exam, Fuji and Xiong Yu naturally knew what she meant. And judging from the fact that the Zhu family didn't send anyone to track them when they left the city last time, the other party knew the information about the foundation establishment exam, and had scruples, so they wouldn't be easily fooled. Fuji chuckled and continued to transmit sound in their hearts, so there is no need to lead the Zhu family to investigate the foundation establishment exam. Just give this 6th-ranked wandering god a chance to intervene in this matter. Do you know why the Kongshu gods are so greedy for money? Xiong Yu had been curious about this for a long time, and immediately asked why. Fuji said naturally, it is because if the 8 divine departments want to improve their rank, increase their divine power, and improve their talismans, they also need money. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin were both surprised when they heard this. They didn't expect that the true gods also had to spend money to be promoted. Isn't this the same as mortals using talismans? Fuji continued. Making money, or rather, recovering wealth from all over Kongshu, is a major mission of all true gods. Fuji sighed. From this point of view, the 10 great sects are indeed far-sighted, and they are not just forcing you to climb up one by one. Zhang Yu's eyes showed a thoughtful look when he heard this, but Bai Zhenjin frowned and asked, "What exactly do you mean?" Fuji sighed. In the beginning, after the 10 great sects unified the 36 layers of Kongshu and destroyed all those who disobeyed, they deeply felt that Kongshu was difficult to manage, so they created the 8 divine departments and created a group of true gods to manage the world for them. Among the 8 departments, the first to be created by the immortals was the Department of Finance and Taxation, and the first great deity of the Department of Finance and Taxation was the great god of infinite wealth. The currencies of all levels and factions in Kongshu are issued by this great god of infinite wealth. It can be said that among the 8 departments, finance and taxation are paramount, and this great god of infinite wealth can even be called the god of gods, the god above gods, and is also respectfully known as the god of wealth. However, later on, the 10 great sects gradually realized that merely controlling the issuance of currency was still insufficient. It was necessary to control the scale and circulation of currency at all levels in order to better control Kongshu. Once problems arose, it could trigger a calamity of heaven and earth, leading to one corporate war after another. With the masses suffering, who knows how many people would jump off buildings, how many wealthy families would collapse, how many companies would fall. After all, the immortals of the 10 great sects were not perfect and infallible. During their many years of governing Kongshu, there had been several calamities of heaven and earth, turning Kongshu upside down and causing chaos. It's just that those leakless true immortals who were beyond the 3 debts, outside the 5 insurances, and could even issue their own currency, were always able to avoid the impact of these calamities of heaven and earth, and were always able to emerge after each calamity, to reorganize Kongshu. Later, the immortals of the 10 great sects began to have the righteous gods of the 8 departments recover the wealth of the world. Speaking of this, Fuji sighed with longing and envy, issuing money with one hand and collecting money with the other. The profits of the entire 36 levels of Kongshu are all within their grasp, and the life, death, fortune, misfortune, poverty, and wealth of trillions of living beings are all within their thoughts. Bai Zhenjin exhaled after listening to Fuji's long speech. As a high school student, although she didn't understand everything, she understood one thing, and that was making money. Or rather, currency recovery was very important to the righteous gods. Fuji said, "One of the annual assessment goals for each righteous god is to make money, or rather, to recover a certain amount of currency. So, as long as you give that 6th rank god an opportunity to make money from the Jew family, it would be a great achievement for her. But even a righteous god cannot act arbitrarily, let alone her, who is only a 6th rank god. So, what we need to do is to give her an opportunity, create a handle, and she will naturally bite onto the Jew family." Several hours later, just as Zhang Yu and the others were making plans, their anticipated enemy took action first. Accompanying the vibration of Zhang Yu's phone, Yun Ni, the patrol captain of Songyang City, sent a message. Yun Ni, the higher-ups suddenly want to investigate redundant personnel. If you and Bai Zhenjin don't want to be dismissed from your divine auxiliary positions, you will have to work full-time starting next week. Zhang Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. If he had to work full-time every day, where would he find the time to cultivate and earn money? However, Zhang Yu was reluctant to give up this outsourced divine auxiliary identity, so he immediately asked, "Is there any way to avoid working full-time?" "Yun Ni, there's no way. This investigation is very strict, and I can't cover for you." Fuji reminded from the side, "Ask her if she knows the reason behind it." After Zhang Yu inquired, Yun Ni replied with a single character, "Jew." Zhang Yu understood in his heart the Jew family is making moves again. Following the curriculum reform in the school and the extra tutoring, they now want me to work full-time. Zhang Yu could feel that this was gradually compressing his time for studying, cultivating, and earning money. If ordinary students encountered this kind of thing, they would probably gradually lose their composure, their grades would decline, and their cultivation would regress. Looking at Yun Ni's response, Bai Zhenjin snorted coldly, "What exactly does the Jew family want to do? They won't fight, but they just discussed us step by step." Fuji pondered, "They're putting pressure on you." Zhang Yu said, in short. It's impossible to obediently go to work full-time. Since the Jew family has the ability to influence the upper echelons of the patrol team, going to work full-time will only put us into the opponent's rhythm and be targeted again and again. We must use the existing information gap to deal with the Jew family, according to our rhythm. When Xiong Yu and Bai Zhenjin returned to school on the morning of the second day, after taking the overnight train. After Xiong Yu activated the power of the detection ritual within his body several times for testing, he felt the camera that had been secretly monitoring him before again. As expected, we've only been back for a short time, and they've started monitoring us again. However, neither Xiong Yu nor Bai Zhenjin revealed anything, pretending not to have noticed that they were being monitored, and continued to attend classes, cultivate, exercise, and take extra lessons normally at school. At the same time, on the rooftop of a building not far away, a young man was observing Xiong Yu's life at school through a camera. This young man had delicate features and a height of just over 1.9 meters, which could be considered short among cultivators, but he exuded an aura of bravery from the inside out. The young man's name was Eugene Chung, and he was a new employee who had been with the security department of Wangxing Group for less than a year. When he was first assigned to monitor Xiong Yu, he was serious and diligent, not letting go of any movement on Xiong Yu's body, carefully scanning every second of the surveillance, hoping to make a contribution as soon as possible, get promoted and get a raise, and become the captain of the security team. After all, in this world, there are more and more college students in the second level of Kung Fu, and it is extremely difficult for people like him, from the first level to stay in the second level. As a result, more and more college students return to their hometowns immediately after graduation, making it more and more difficult to find a job for college graduates in Songyang City year by year. Eugene Cheng also cherished this hard-won job very much. Since joining the company, he has lived in the company day and night, paying for his own meals and paying overnight fees for staying in the company, following his leaders around, and not letting go of any opportunity to work overtime. When he got this surveillance job, he was originally full of ambition, but the more he monitored Xiong Yu and Bai Zhenjin, the more helpless he felt. Especially watching the two of them live day after day, Eugene Cheng felt that his time and life were constantly being consumed. Unconsciously, he found that his working hours became slower and slower, and the number of times he swiped his phone became more and more frequent. At this moment, looking at Xiong Yu, who was practicing body refinement in the lens, Eugene Cheng sighed in his heart. At least you are still cultivating, but what about me, watching you cultivate every day? After observing Xiong Yu boredly for a few hours, Eugene Cheng finally couldn't help but say to the other end of the walkie-talkie, "Senior C, it's not a solution to just wait like this. Should we take the initiative?" On the other side of the rooftop, a woman was monitoring Bai Zhenjin while listening to a novel. It was Si Juyu, who had once followed Bai Zhenjin to deliver food. Hearing what Eugene Cheng said, Si Juyu frowned and said, "What do you want to do?" Eugene Cheng said, "Xiong Yu and Bai Zhenjin, no matter how powerful they are just high school students. With her and my abilities, it would be easy to deal with them, whether it is stealing their mobile phones or sneaking into their apartments. Then we will know all the secrets they have." The newest and most complete novels are all available at 6/9shuba.com. Although Si Juyu had similar thoughts to him, and also felt that it would be easy for the two of them to deal with high school students with their cultivation, as an old employee who had not been promoted or received a raise in 20 years, while she wanted to be promoted, she also understood that she must not act without authorization on the tasks assigned by the company leaders. Si Juyu immediately said, "The leaders' arrangements have their own deep meaning, don't mess around." Eugene Cheng frowned, glanced at Si Juyu, who was still listening to the novel, and a hint of disdain appeared in his eyes. Originally, he had some contempt for Si Juyu, a senior who had not been promoted for more than 20 years. After learning a few days ago that the other party was only a junior college student, he looked down on her even more. After all, he, Eugene Cheng, was a serious graduate of the 72nd Lower School, which was a real university. As for Jinza College, where CGU graduated, was it worthy of being called a university? "I can't waste my good time like her every day. In a year or two, my rank will definitely be above her." Time passed by in Eugene Cheng's boring surveillance. That night, watching Xiong Yu leave school and walk towards the subway station, Eugene Cheng was slightly stunned. This kid usually runs home to save money. Why is he willing to take the subway this time? Yu Jincheng could only follow Zhang Yu onto the subway, and began to change lines on a series of railway lines. However, as an employee at the peak of key refining, and being sent to track and monitor opponents, he naturally had unique methods. He changed his shape, twisting the muscles all over his body, and cooperating with the clothes in his backpack, so that every time he approached Zhang Yu, he could transform into a different appearance. After riding the subway around, Yu Jincheng followed Zhang Yu to a subway station, outside a suburb. Watching the other party run towards the remote suburbs, Yu Jincheng followed behind, but suddenly cheered up. Could it be that this kid is finally taking action today? It's also time for me to make a contribution. Just as he was thinking about whether to notify Siju, who was monitoring Bai Zhenjin, on the other side, he heard a message from the other party. It turned out that Bai Zhenjin also took the subway to the suburbs. Soon after, Yu Jincheng and Siju gathered together, both looking at Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, who were still moving quickly not far ahead, with some excitement. More than half an hour later, watching Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin buy tickets to enter the protected area, both of them frowned. Yu Jincheng couldn't help but say, "Should we go in?" Siju said, "Nonsense, we have to follow in and see who they met." Yu Jincheng looked at the consumption list of the protected area with some heartache and said, "The company will reimburse it, right?" Siju, of course. However, she thought to herself, but it's hard to say how long it will take to reimburse. I just hope that Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin can bring me some surprises this time. However, soon after the two entered the protected area, when they found Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin again, they found that the other party had each put on oxygen masks. Could it be the express delivery they received at school today? Siju said in shock. It seems they were prepared. Looking at Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, breathing from oxygen cylinders, and then looking at himself and Siju, breathing heavily in the protected area, Yu Jincheng suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. I hope these two guys don't stay here for long. But obviously, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, who were carrying oxygen cylinders, did not intend to leave immediately. Yu Jincheng and Siju could only follow the two all the way, and then watch the consumption records on their bodies continue to increase with each breath, making their hearts bleed.